Hey everyone, welcome to today's Explainer. Today, we're diving into a concept that is literally going to shift how you view success, skill, and stress. We're unpacking Timothy Gallwey's legendary framework for mastering the mental side of peak performance, known as the inner game. Whether you're, swinging a tennis racket, giving a huge presentation at work, or just trying to pick up a new hobby without losing your mind, this is absolutely crucial. See, Gallwey figured out something profound. The biggest opponent we face, it isn't actually on the other side of the net. It's right inside our own heads.
Let me hook you right out of the gate with an incredibly frustrating question. Why is your practice better than your play? Come on, you know exactly what I'm talking about, right? In sports, or really anything, your biggest complaint probably isn't that you don't know what to do. It's that you don't know how to do what you already know. When the pressure is off, you're a total genius. But when it actually matters, the harder you try, the worse you perform. It's like if you desperately try to control your racket or your words or your paintbrush, you somehow lose control completely. So why exactly does trying harder make us worse?
Section 1. The natural state of learning. How we perfectly learned as babies.
Okay, let's dive into this. To understand why we struggle so much to perform, think about a toddler learning to walk. A toddler operates entirely on observation, with literally zero judgment of right or wrong. They just observe the facts. It's like, okay, I put my foot here and I fall over. I put it here and I keep my balance. There's no positive or negative thinking involved. A baby isn't sitting there stressing out thinking, oh man, baby George took his first step last week and he's a month younger than me. I really got to step up my game. No, they don't care about baby George. Adult learning, on the other hand, is completely plagued by this terrible habit of constant comparison, labeling everything as right or wrong, good or bad. We've totally abandoned this judgment-free childlike state, and that is exactly what we need to get back to if we want to unlock peak performance.
Section 2, the teller versus the doer. Who are you talking to?
If you watch any sporting event, tennis, golf, whatever, it doesn't take long to notice players literally talking to themselves out loud on the field. Have you ever stopped to wonder who exactly they're talking to? And, for that matter, who is doing the talking? You might just brush it off and say, well, they're just talking to themselves. But hold on. If you're only talking to yourself, why do you need to tell yourself anything? Why don't you just do it? This brings us to Gallwey's core philosophy. You don't just have one self, you have two. First, there's self one. This is the teller, the ego mind, the judge. This is the voice that picked up that nasty habit of judging everything. Then you've got self two. This is the doer. This is your natural, unconscious capability that learns effortlessly, just like that toddler. So peak performance? It isn't actually about learning new skills. It's about unlearning the bad habits of self one so that self two can just naturally do its thing. Mastering the relationship between these two selves is the absolute key here.
Section 3, the trap of judgment. The cycle of self-sabotage.
Self one's constant need to judge and critique actually derails our natural learning process. Let's see exactly how this cycle of self-sabotage plays out in real time. Walk through these steps with me. Step 1. You serve the tennis ball. Step 2. Your brain initiates the evaluation process. Was it in or out? Step 3. Bam, here comes the ego. Self 1 steps in and judges, wow, that was a terrible serve. Step 4. The ego panics. It demands, what do I need to change? How do I fix this? Step 5. You try much, much harder to force the correction. And then you're right back to step 1. After a few cycles of this exhausting loop, your ego draws this sweeping, toxic conclusion like, I am just bad at serving. I always choke under pressure. It's crazy, but you literally become what you think. Overthinking and forcing corrections create a completely self-defeating loop.
To escape this loop, we have to radically change our mindset to what Gallwey calls the umpire. Think about a tennis umpire for a second. Their only job is to call facts. Is the ball in or is it out? That's it. Their job is definitely not to judge the moral worth of the player's shot. Let's put that into perspective. If you hit 50% of your serves over the net and half into the net, 50% is just your conversion rate. That is literally just a fact. Whether that fact is good or bad is entirely subjective and, honestly, a total waste of energy to dwell on. If we adopted the mindset of an umpire for our own performances, just observing the cold, hard facts without attaching judgment, we would finally stop triggering that exhausting cycle of self-sabotage.
All right, prepare yourselves for a bit of a shock. Here it is. Positive thinking and compliments are criticism in disguise. I know, right? Absolute mic drop moment. You'd naturally think the solution to negative self-talk is positive self-talk. But Gallwey says, wait a minute. Telling yourself, I'm going to play so well next time, means you still haven't grasped the concept of non-judgment. Positive labels still activate the ego. Think about it.
If you validate self-1 with compliments when you do well, you are literally keeping the judge employed. And if people praise you for doing well, they might criticize you when you don't. Any judgment at all, even a positive one, drags you right back into the trap.
Section 4. Thinking in pictures. The language of self-2. So the crucial point is this. If we aren't supposed to use verbal instructions or judgments, how on earth do we tell our bodies what to do? Well, we have to learn to speak the native language of self-2. And guess what? That language is imagery, not words. To communicate with your natural doer, you have to shift your attention entirely from yourself to the result you want. You visualize the exact landing spot. You picture the height and the speed of the ball flying through the air. You absolutely must avoid verbal commands. Self-2 does not respond well to dialogue like, hey, make sure you avoid the net. Because when you say avoid the net, Self-1 is planting a massive image of the net right into your brain. And well, guess where you're probably going to hit the ball. Giving Self-2 a clear visual target works infinitely better than barking a list of verbal instructions at yourself.
Section 5. Mastering trust and concentration. Quieting the ego.
We know we need to let Self-2 take the wheel, but to do that, we have to get Self-1, our loud, bossy ego, to just shut up. And let me tell you, that is a monumental task. Don't believe me? Let's do a live experiment right now. For the next few seconds, I want you to do exactly this. Think of absolutely nothing. Go ahead, pause right now.
Yeah, not so easy, is it? In fact, it's probably completely impossible at first. The very second you try to think of nothing, your brain just floods with thoughts. Self-1 constantly chatters because it desperately wants to be in control. People always describe peak performance as effortless, but the truth is, Self-1 hates effortless. Self-1 would way rather be visibly trying hard, sweating, grinding, so that when you hit a great shot, Self-1 can take all the credit. Getting the ego to step aside requires immense, profound trust in your natural abilities.
Which brings us to this incredibly vital concept, letting go. Have you ever hit an amazing shot or given a perfect answer and you couldn't even describe how you did it? It just happened, right? That's letting go. But remember, Self-1 hates that. It wants to know exactly how it was done so it can take the credit. Now, I need to clarify something important. Letting go doesn't mean just going limp and giving up. Actually, scratch that. It's more like letting only the muscles required to do the job do the job. When we're stressed out and judging ourselves, we use way too many muscles. We clench up. Letting go is all about relaxing those unnecessary muscles so the action can finally become truly effortless.
But here's the catch. Since telling Self-1 to just be quiet literally never works, we have to trick it. We have to give it a job to keep it distracted. Here's a brilliant tactical distraction technique from the explainer material, the bounce hit exercise. It goes like this. As a tennis ball comes towards you, you say the word bounce out loud the exact millisecond it hits the court. Then you say hit the exact millisecond your racket makes contact. By forcing your mind to match those words precisely to the moment, Self-1 is kept totally busy. It literally doesn't have time to judge you. But to pull this off, you have to become highly sensitive to feel. Think about it. If I ask you right now how your tongue feels in your mouth, you instantly become aware of a sensation you were completely ignoring just 2 seconds ago. You have to bring that exact same intense sensory awareness to the racket and the ball.
Now, what's really fascinating about that bounce hit exercise is the ultimate superpower it grants you, staying in the present. When your awareness is entirely locked onto the physical sensory details of right now, the bounce, the hit, the literal feel of the grip, your mind is physically not allowed to wander off into an imagined future. And think about it, where does all of our performance anxiety actually come from? It comes from the imagined future. By keeping Self-1 busy with the present reality, you completely pull the plug on anxiety.
And that beautifully sets up our final thought for today's explainer. I really want to leave you with this provocative question to chew on. If you stop judging your performance today, what could your natural potential achieve tomorrow? Seriously, if you fired that harsh inner critic, stepped into the shoes of the impartial umpire, and finally trusted the incredible natural capabilities of your inner doer, what limits could you shatter? I want you to keep that in mind the next time you step onto the court, into the boardroom, or anywhere your potential is just waiting to be unleashed. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and I will catch you all next time.